friend of mine once told me of his brother that would always, when picking up a new car, scratch the inside of the door. That way, the car had already been scratched and he didn't have to worry about it happening anymore to his brand new fancy car. Sure, it's quite silly, but I think we can all relate. That first nick on your watch is heartbreaking or aggravating depending on your personality. Whilst I always laugh and righteously make fun of Rolex owners that wrap their bracelets in plastic or refuse to wear them to affect the value, I also understand that we all have a different approach to this hobby. This Orient Bambino automatic has lived a life. It's the equivalent of a model in his or her 50s, still beautiful, but less worried about projecting youth and absolute perfection at all times. I bought this secondhand as a gift to my son, something that he could wear to his hospitality job and not worry too much about, but still look good. The only thing we did was get a new bracelet for it since the original's well and truly past its use-by date. So why should you consider one of the best value watches around, and why am I asking rhetorical questions before even getting stuck in here? Well, let's find out. If this is the first video of mine you've seen, thank you for being here. I do my very best to not just cover fancy Swiss watches that are out of reach for many of us, but also great value micro brands and everything in between. If you like what you see, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. Thank you. So yes, my last few videos have all been established brands with in-house movements and plenty of history. And we got that here as well, but at an absolute fraction of the price. The Bambino is widely regarded as one of the best value offerings of any automatic watches, and whether you're young or old, it's a perfect choice in almost any scenario. But before I get stuck into specs and macro shots, please allow me to talk a little bit about my excellent new channel sponsor. If you're like me and always looking for a better alternative to interact with other watch fans, I'm very comfortable in recommending Watch Crunch. You'll find me there amongst other YouTubers, microbrand owners, podcasters, and importantly, watch fans. You'll see watches at all price points, no snobs here, and even people chatting about straps. Yep, these are my people. The overall vibe is welcoming and the user interface is modern, attractive, and importantly, no annoying algorithms or ads. But don't take my word for it. Head on over and check it out, which is what I did when they offered to sponsor my channel. Make your own mind up, and when you're ready, follow me on Watch Crunch. The brand Orient Star hails from the 1950s officially, but has roots all the way back to 1901 when Shogora Yoshida opened a wholesale shop in Tokyo, Japan. In 2001, Orient became majority owned by Seiko Epson, to eventually be wholly owned by Seiko in 2009. It seems from an onlooker's perspective that they mainly left the company alone to do their thing, which is wise. God knows Seiko does not need to produce more models under their own name than what they already do. So let's cover sizes. At 40.5mm, this is a perfect size on my wrist, with only the crown protruding another 2mm. It's only 12mm thick, and the lug-to-lug is 46.4mm. Lug width is a mildly annoying 21mm. This is a second generation Bambino, and it's slightly unusual in its applied alternate Roman numeral and index hour markers design. I've never been a fan of Roman numerals on a watch face. I've always felt that it's trying too hard to class up a watch. To try to make it over-the-top, old-world elegant. But here it works so well with the combination of indices and numerals. I think it looks great. The logo is applied, and the only obvious print on the dial is underneath that applied Orient logo, and automatic. We can also find the slightly odd text of water resist above the 6. Not specifying how water resist it is could be a mistake, since it's only 3 ATM. So you would definitely even be careful washing your hands too hard here, and you would pull your sleeve up in light rain. The polished Dauphine hands and seconds hand holds up extremely well to scrutiny with no particularly rough edges or marks, which is again quite impressive. I love the silver seconds markers all around the edges, and even more so when close up. My one complaint is the mineral crystal. They are rubbish in my opinion, particularly here with the box-like design, which is so attractive but obviously so exposed to any knocks. They also tend to get a bit hazy over time. It's okay here since the whole watch is clearly used, but when this was new, that first knock scratch would have been supremely irritating on a nice new box crystal. The case is high polish and full of scratches. I think it looks fantastic, like an old trophy. It reminds me again of the Steve Jobs story where he couldn't understand why people covered up their iPods, since that aluminium back was made to look beautiful when scratched, not to be kept pristine. The crown is unsigned, which is totally fine at this price point. It's push-pull and operates a movement that does not hack or hand wind. So you need to do a bit of a dance around to get this one going if it's stopped. Good for its heart and yours as well. Flipping the watch over does not give us a look at the movement, which is the Orient caliber F6724 with a 40-hour power reserve. The caseback is solid and have more beautiful details that are only enhanced further with some wear. The design with a slight angle is also quite comfortable on the wrist with only a small portion of the back firmly planted on your wrist at all times. This mesh bracelet is a third-party one that replaced the tattered old black leather strap. It's a $13 AliExpress number, which is surprisingly good for the money, and I'll link it up in the description if you're interested. We mainly bought it to see if it would fit the aesthetics of the watch, which we all think it does. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So this is normally where I do a Lume section, but it'll be pretty sad here since there is precisely zero Lume. That's okay though, my Grand Seiko Snowflake doesn't have any either, and that costs approximately 15 times more, and polished hands do reflect okay, even in dim light. I see a perfect scenario for this watch. Perhaps if you're like me, you prefer sports watches and inescapably dive watches. But you can't wear that to a black tie event. Well, you can, but you know what I mean. Busting out the Orient Bambino would not only look way better than many of the other shopping center comedy-sized fashion watches in the room, and if there's another watch collector in the room, whether they're wearing a recent A. Cerner or a microbrand, they'll immediately recognize you for another good person with impeccable taste. The Orient Bambino is quite simply a well-designed, attractive watch with an in-house movement and a history going back over 100 years. That also happens to be priced at a level where any watch collector or enthusiast can afford to get in. It's worth our respect, support, and dare I say, even with an enormous corporation behind it, our love. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.